The alarm screamed through the mining ship as Taemin Park gripped the control panel. Red lights flashed across his weathered face while he stared at the scanner display. Something was out there in the asteroid field, something that should not exist. "Captain, you seeing this?" Jinwoo called from the engine room. His voice crackled through the old communication system. "That's not one of ours." Taemin squinted at the strange readings. The object was big, maybe twice the size of his ship, but it moved wrong, drifting without power through the space rocks like a dead thing. The metal looked different too. Smooth and white, not like the rough steel of human ships. "So Young, get up here," he said into his headset. "Bring the scanner equipment." So Young climbed up from the lower deck carrying a heavy box of tools. She was the best engineer Taemin had ever worked with, even if she was only 25 years old. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail and grease stained her work clothes. "What do you think, Captain?" she asked, looking at the screen. "Never seen anything like it." The ship floated past a massive asteroid and they got a better look. It was beautiful in a way that made Taemin's chest tight. The hull curved like flowing water, and strange symbols covered its surface. But dark scorch marks showed where weapons had hit it. Whoever built this ship, someone had tried very hard to destroy it. "Sir, we should report this to Earth Command," Jinwoo said. He had climbed up from the engine room and stood behind them. "First contact protocols and all that." Taemin nodded slowly. Jinwoo was right. The rules were clear about unknown alien ships. Report first, investigate never. But something bothered him about those scorch marks. Someone was inside that ship, maybe hurt, maybe dying. "Life signs?" he asked So Young. She worked her scanner equipment, frowning at the numbers. "Hard to tell with all that strange metal. But yes, I think so. Very weak, though. Whatever's in there won't last much longer." Taemin closed his eyes. He had been a soldier once before he became a miner. He remembered the oath he took when he joined the Earth Defense Corps. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. That oath did not say anything about only protecting humans. "We're going aboard," he said. "Captain," Jinwoo started. But Taemin held up his hand. "Someone's dying over there. We can argue about protocols later." So Young was already putting on her spacesuit. "I'll get the medical kit and cutting tools. That hull looks thick." 20 minutes later, Taemin floated through space toward the alien ship. His magnetic boots clanked against the strange metal as he landed on its surface. Up close, the symbols looked even more mysterious. They seemed to glow with their own light, though that might have been his imagination. So Young found what looked like an airlock. The cutting tools made short work of the damaged door. Inside, the ship was dark except for a few flickering lights. The air was thin but breathable. Everything felt too clean, too perfect, like a museum instead of a working ship. "This way," So Young whispered, pointing her flashlight down a curved hallway. "Life signs are stronger in that direction." They found her in what looked like a medical bay. She lay on a table that molded itself to her body, connected to machines that hummed with alien technology. When Taemin's light hit her face, he forgot how to breathe. She was beautiful, but not human. Her skin was pale like moonlight, and silver hair spread across the medical table like spilled mercury. Strange markings covered her arms and face, patterns that glowed faintly blue in the darkness. She was small and delicate, but something about her face suggested great strength. "She's dying," So Young said, checking her scanner. "Whatever those machines are doing, it's not enough." Taemin looked at the alien technology around them. Nothing made sense. The machines had no buttons or screens he could understand. But the girl's breathing was getting weaker, and the blue glow of her markings was fading. "Can we move her to our ship?" he asked. "Maybe, but we'd need to keep her connected to something. Her biology is all wrong for our medical equipment." Taemin studied the machines. His military training had taught him basic field medicine. But this was far beyond anything he knew. Still, dying was dying in any language. He could see her heart rate dropping on one of the displays. "Help me understand these machines," he said. "We need to figure out what's keeping her alive." For the next hour, they worked together to understand the alien medical system. It was frustrating and scary. But slowly, they began to see patterns. The machines were trying to heal damage to her internal organs, but they were failing. The power systems were damaged, and the medical bay could not maintain the complex treatments she needed. "I have an idea," Taemin said. "It's crazy, but it might work." He connected his own medical scanner to the alien machines using spare cables and a lot of hoping. The two technologies should not have worked together, but somehow they did. His scanner could read her vital signs, and the alien machines could use that information to adjust their treatments. Taemin, you're interfacing human technology with completely unknown alien systems, So Young said. If this goes wrong, it could kill her. She's dying anyway, he replied. At least this gives her a chance. The next few hours were the longest of his life. He stayed connected to the machines, letting his scanner feed information to the alien medical system. Several times alarms went off and he had to make quick adjustments. His head pounded from the stress and his hands shook from exhaustion. But slowly her breathing got stronger. The blue glow in her markings grew brighter. The alien machines hummed with more confidence, as if they finally understood what they needed to do. When she opened her eyes, Taemin nearly fell over from relief. Her eyes were large and dark, like looking into deep water. She stared at him for a long moment, then spoke in a voice like music. Of course, he could not understand a word she said. So Young activated the translation program on her tablet. It took several minutes to analyze the girl's speech patterns, but finally words appeared on the screen. Why did you save me? The translation read, I am nothing to you. Taemin smiled tiredly. Because you needed saving. That's enough. The girl stared at him with wonder, as if he had said something impossible. She spoke again, and the translator worked faster this time. I am Hana, she said. Princess of the Valyrian Empire. You have saved the life of royalty, human. This creates a debt that can never be repaid. Taemin looked at So Young, who shrugged. They had just saved an alien princess. This was definitely not covered in the mining ship manual. I'm Taemin, he said simply. And you don't owe me anything. Anyone would have done the same thing. But even as he said it, he could see in her eyes that this was not true. In her world, what he had done was something special. Something that would change both their lives forever. Outside the ship, the stars continued their ancient dance, unaware that everything had just become much more complicated. 3 days after rescuing Princess Hana, Taemin knew his quiet life was over. The princess had recovered quickly, though she still needed to rest often. She spent most of her time watching him work, asking strange questions about human customs and behavior. Why do you share your food with your crew? She asked as Taemin handed Jinwoo a protein bar from his personal supplies. Because we're a team, Taemin answered. We take care of each other. Hana's markings glowed brighter when she was thinking hard. In my world, leaders eat first. The strong take what they need. That sounds lonely, So Young said from her workstation. Before Hana could respond, every alarm on the ship started screaming at once. Taemin rushed to the scanner display and felt his blood turn cold. 12 massive ships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding his small mining vessel like wolves around a rabbit. Those are Valyrian warships, Hana said quietly. She did not sound happy about it. The largest ship was bigger than anything Taemin had ever seen. It looked like a floating city made of silver and light. Weapons that could destroy planets lined its hull. Just one of those ships could turn Earth's entire defense fleet into space dust. This is Admiral Kyung-ho of the Valyrian Imperial Fleet, a voice said through the radio. The translation system made his words sound formal and cold. Return Princess Hana immediately or your ship will be destroyed. Hana moved to the communication panel. Uncle Kyung-ho, I am safe. These humans saved my life. They are under my protection. Princess, you will return to your ship now. Your mother is very worried. Taemin looked at Hana. Her face had changed, becoming distant and sad. The free spirit he had been talking with for 3 days was disappearing, replaced by someone who carried heavy responsibilities. I must go, she said to him. But you must come with me. Saving my life has created a bond that cannot be broken. My mother will want to meet you. I can't leave my crew, Taemin said. We have work to do. Your crew will be taken to a space station and given quarters. They will be safe and comfortable while you visit the royal court. Jinwoo and So Young looked worried. They had all heard stories about aliens who took humans for experiments or slavery, but Hana seemed different. She had been kind and curious, not cruel. How long will this visit take? Taemin asked. Hana's markings dimmed. I do not know. Saving royal blood creates a life debt. Until my mother decides how to repay this debt, you cannot leave. An hour later, Taemin found himself on the largest warship he had ever seen. The corridors were wide enough for vehicles to drive through, and the ceiling stretched high above his head. Everything was clean and beautiful, but it felt cold, like a palace made of ice. Admiral Kyung-ho met them at the airlock. He was tall and stern, with gray hair and eyes like steel. His uniform had more decorations than Taman could count, and he moved like a man who had never lost a battle. "So you are the human who saved our princess," he said, studying Taman carefully. "You are smaller than I expected." "Size doesn't matter when someone needs help," Taman replied. The Admiral's eyebrows went up slightly. "Interesting. Come, the Queen waits." They walked through corridors filled with alien soldiers and servants. Everyone stopped to bow when Hana passed, but they stared at Taemin with curious eyes. He was probably the first human most of them had ever seen. The throne room was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above, and pillars of crystal lined the walls. At the far end sat Queen Mira on a throne that seemed to be carved from a single black stone. She was beautiful like her daughter, but cold as winter starlight. "Approach," the Queen commanded. Taemin walked forward, his boots echoing in the vast space. Guards watched his every move, hands resting on weapons that hummed with energy. When he reached the throne, he stopped and stood straight, meeting the Queen's eyes. "You will kneel before the Queen," Admiral Kyung-ho said sharply. "I kneel to no one," Taemin replied calmly. "I respect your daughter and your power, but I am a free man." The silence that followed was deadly. Guards stepped forward, and Taemin heard weapons charging. But Queen Mira held up one hand, and everyone froze. "Interesting," she said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "Tell me, human, why did you save my daughter?" "Because she needed help," Taemin said. "No other reason was necessary." "You expected no reward? No payment?" "No. You did not know she was royalty?" "I learned that after I saved her." Queen Mira stood up from her throne and walked down the steps toward him. She was tall and graceful, moving like a dancer. When she stopped in front of him, Taemin could see where Hana got her beauty. "In our culture," the Queen said, "saving royal blood creates a sacred debt. You have given my daughter her life back. Now I must give you something of equal value in return." "I don't want anything," Taemin said. "Just let me go back to my crew." "That is not possible. The debt must be repaid properly according to our laws. Until I decide what gift is worthy of your service, you will remain as an honored guest in my court." The way she said "honored guest" made it clear that Taemin was really a prisoner. A comfortable prisoner, but still a prisoner. "Mother," Hana said, stepping forward. "Perhaps we could—" "Silence," the Queen said without looking away from Taemin. "This is a matter of royal honor. The human will remain until the debt is satisfied." Later that night, Taemin sat in a room that was bigger than his entire ship. The bed could sleep 6 people, and the bathroom had a bathtub carved from marble. Servants had brought him clothes fit for a noble and food that probably cost more than he made in a year. But the door was locked from the outside. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. When he answered, Hana slipped inside, looking around nervously. "I am sorry," she said. "I did not know my mother would keep you prisoner." "It's not your fault," Taemin replied. "You didn't ask to be rescued. In my world, what you did is considered almost impossible. Most people would have taken my valuables and left me to die. The idea that someone would risk their life for a stranger is difficult for my people to understand." Taemin sat down in a chair that was probably worth more than his ship. "How long will your mother keep me here?" "I do not know. She is trying to understand you, I think. Humans are new to her, and she does not trust what she does not understand." "What about my crew?"
"Are they really safe?"
"Yes, I promise. They are comfortable and well-fed. Jin Woo has been asking questions about our engines, and So Young has impressed our engineers with her knowledge." They talked for an hour about their different worlds. Hana told him about the vast empire her mother ruled, with thousands of planets and countless alien species. Taemin told her about Earth, about the struggles of humanity to reach the stars. "Your people sound strong," Hana said, "but also kind. It is a strange combination." "Maybe that's what makes us human," Taemin replied. After she left, Taemin lay on the enormous bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere out there, his crew was waiting for him. His simple life of mining asteroids and fixing engines seemed very far away now. He had saved one alien princess, and now he was trapped in a world of politics and power that he did not understand. But looking at the stars through his window, he knew he would make the same choice again. Some things were more important than freedom. Some things were worth any price. 2 weeks in the royal palace felt like 2 years to Taemin. Every day was the same routine of fancy meals, boring ceremonies, and polite conversations that said nothing important. He met Prince Daeho, Hana's brother. who smiled with his mouth but not his eyes. Lady Minji, the queen's advisor, watched Taemin like he was a dangerous animal that might bite. General Wu Jin made it clear he thought humans were a threat that should be eliminated. Taemin missed his crew terribly. He missed the honest work of mining asteroids and the simple pleasure of fixing broken engines. Most of all, he missed being free to make his own choices. Everything changed when alarms started ringing throughout the palace. Guards ran through the corridors and emergency meetings were called. Taemin could see ships launching from the royal fleet through his window. "What's happening?" he asked Hana when she came to visit him. "Rebellion on Kepler 442b, she said, her face worried. "The miners there have taken over the mining stations and declared independence from the Empire." "Why are they rebelling?" Hana looked uncomfortable. "The mining companies have been harsh. Long work hours, dangerous conditions, very little pay. Many miners have died." That evening, Queen Mira summoned Taemin to the throne room. But this time it was different. Military officers filled the space, studying battle plans and troop movements. The queen sat on her throne like a statue of ice, her face showing no emotion. "Human," she said when Taemin approached. "You claim your people are skilled at solving problems. Now I will test this claim." General Wu Jin stepped forward, his armor gleaming under the lights. "My forces can crush this rebellion in 3 days. Give me permission to use full military force." "And kill thousands of workers in the process," the queen replied coldly. "That would create more rebels, not fewer." "Then what do you suggest, Your Majesty?" Prince Daeho asked. He looked eager for violence, like his uncle the general. Queen Mira turned her ancient eyes to Taemin. "You will go to Kepler 442b and end this rebellion. But I forbid you to kill anyone. Show me what human solutions look like." The throne room fell silent. Even the guards stopped moving. General Wu Jin's face turned red with anger. "Majesty, this is impossible," he said. "The rebels have military weapons. How can one unarmed human succeed where our army cannot?" "That is what we will discover," the queen said. "Captain Yunhee will command the mission. You will take a small team and solve this problem without violence. If you succeed, your debt to me will be reduced. If you fail, the rebellion will be crushed in the traditional way." Taemin felt a cold weight in his stomach. Thousands of lives depended on his ability to find a peaceful solution, but he had been a soldier once. He knew that most problems had answers if you looked hard enough. "I'll need to understand the situation first," he said. "I want to talk to both sides before I make any plans." Captain Yunhee turned out to be a professional soldier with short black hair and sharp eyes. She clearly thought the queen was making a mistake by trusting a human, but she followed orders without complaint. "The rebels control 3 major mining stations," she explained as their ship traveled to Kepler 442b. "They have about 2,000 fighters, mostly untrained workers with stolen weapons. Their leader is someone called Hyun-soo, a former mining supervisor." "What do they want?" Taemin asked. "Better working conditions, higher pay, medical care for injured workers, the usual complaints." Yunhee sounded like she thought these were unreasonable demands. "Are their complaints valid?" Yunhee looked surprised by the question. "I suppose so. The mining companies do push their workers very hard, but that is not relevant to military operations." "It's relevant to everything," Taemin said. "People don't risk their lives in rebellions unless they're desperate." When they reached Kepler 442b, Taemin could see why the miners were angry. The planet was a barren rock covered in open mining pits. The air was thin and poisonous, forcing everyone to wear breathing masks. The mining stations looked like prisons with high walls and guard towers. "How do we contact the rebel leader?" Taemin asked. "We don't," Yunhee replied. "We wait for them to contact us." But Taemin had different ideas. That night, he slipped away from the Valerian camp and walked alone toward the nearest mining station. The guards there should have shot him on sight, but something about an unarmed man walking slowly in the open made them hesitate. "I want to talk to Hyun-soo," he called out when he got close enough. "I'm not armed. I just want to understand your side of the story." The guards were nervous and confused. After some arguing among themselves, they brought him inside the station. The conditions were even worse than Taemin had expected. The workers lived in tiny rooms with no privacy. The food was basic protein paste. Medical facilities were almost non-existent. Hyun-soo was a man in his 40s with tired eyes and hands scarred from years of dangerous work. He looked at Taemin with suspicion and curiosity. "You're the human they're talking about," he said. "The one who saved the princess." "I'm also someone who used to work for a living," Taemin replied. I know what it's like when the people in charge don't care if you live or die. They talked for 3 hours. Hyunsu told him about workers dying in mining accidents that could have been prevented with better safety equipment. About families separated because the company housing was too small. About children getting sick from the poisoned air while company executives lived in clean, comfortable stations. We're not terrorists, Hyunsu said. We're just people who want to be treated like human beings. Well, like people anyway. What would it take to end this peacefully? Taemin asked. Safety equipment for all workers, medical care for families, shorter work shifts, fair pay for dangerous work, and representation on the company board so our voices are heard. When Taemin returned to the Valerian camp, Captain Yoon-hee was furious. You could have been killed. What were you thinking? I was thinking that you can't solve a problem until you understand it, Taemin replied. These people aren't evil. They're desperate. There's a difference. Over the next 2 days, Taemin met with representatives from the mining companies. They were angry about lost profits and damaged equipment. But when he showed them the actual working conditions and explained the costs of constant rebellions, some of them began to listen. Look, Taemin said to the company managers, you can keep fighting these rebellions forever, or you can fix the problems that cause them. Which costs more in the long run? The negotiations were difficult. Both sides had been angry for so long that they had forgotten how to talk to each other. But slowly, carefully, Taemin helped them find common ground. The companies needed reliable workers. The workers needed safe conditions and fair treatment. The rebels will return all stolen equipment, Taemin announced when the deal was finally reached. The companies will provide safety equipment, medical care, and fair wages. Both sides will form a joint committee to handle future disputes without violence. Captain Yoon-hee stared at him in amazement. How did you do that? My military training never covered anything like this. Sometimes the best weapon is just listening to people, Taemin said. Everyone wants the same basic things: safety, respect, a chance to build something better for their children. When they returned to the royal palace, Queen Mira received the news in silence. General Wu Jin looked disappointed that he had not gotten his war. Prince Daeho seemed angry that the human had succeeded where Valerian military might would have failed. Interesting, the queen said finally. You have ended a rebellion without firing a single shot. This is not how we usually solve such problems. Maybe it's time to try new ways, Taemin suggested. Queen Mira studied him for a long moment. Perhaps. Your debt to me is reduced, human. But it is not yet paid in full. That night, Hana came to his room with excitement in her eyes. The court is talking about nothing else, she said. No one has ever seen anything like what you did. It wasn't magic, Taemin said. I just treated everyone like people instead of problems to be solved. That is exactly why it seems like magic to us, Hana replied softly. We have forgotten how to see each other as people. As she left, Taemin wondered if that was the real difference between humans and other species. Not that humans were stronger or smarter, but that they refused to stop seeing the person behind the problem. It was a dangerous way to think in a galaxy full of empires and armies. But maybe it was also the only way to build something better. After the peaceful solution to the mining rebellion, things changed in the royal palace. Some courtiers looked at Taemin with new respect, but others watched him with fear and suspicion. He had shown that there were different ways to solve problems, and that made some powerful people very uncomfortable. Prince Daeho was one of them. Hana's brother had always expected to inherit the throne through military strength and political alliances. But Taemin's success made him look weak and outdated. During court meetings, the prince's face grew darker each time someone praised the human's methods. General Wu Jin was even more worried. His entire career was built on the idea that force was the only language that mattered in the galaxy. If peaceful solutions actually worked, what use was a general? He began holding secret meetings with officers who shared his views. The human is dangerous, Wu Jin told his supporters in a hidden room deep in the palace. He makes our people think they don't need strong leadership. He makes them soft. But the queen seems impressed with him, said Colonel Namsik, one of Wu Jin's loyal officers. The queen is old, Prince Daeho said as he entered the room. She has forgotten what it takes to hold an empire together. Sometimes the young must protect the old from their own mistakes. Meanwhile, Taemin was learning more about Valerian society from Hana. She visited him every day, and their conversations had become the best part of his imprisonment. Today she seemed more troubled than usual. "My mother wants me to marry Prince Junho of the Keth Empire," she said, staring out the window at the stars. "It would create a military alliance that could protect us from the hegemony." "The hegemony?" Taemin asked. "A group of warlike species that believe the galaxy belongs to the strong. They have been attacking smaller civilizations and taking their resources. My mother thinks an alliance through marriage is our only hope of stopping them." Taemin felt angry, though he tried not to show it. "What do you want?" "It doesn't matter what I want," Hana said sadly. "I am a princess. My life belongs to my people. Your life belongs to you," Taemin said firmly. "No one else should choose how you spend it." Hana looked at him with surprise. "You really believe that, don't you? That individuals should be free to choose their own paths?" "I do. And I think deep down, you believe it too." That night, Lieutenant Yuna came to Taemin's room in secret. She was a young intelligence officer with nervous eyes and shaking hands. "I need to tell someone," she whispered. "But if they find out I was here, they'll kill me." "What's wrong?" Taemin asked, moving away from the windows where listening devices might be hidden. "General Wu Jin and Prince Daeho are planning something terrible. They've been meeting with hegemony agents. They want to frame you for espionage and use it as an excuse to attack Earth." Taemin felt ice in his veins. "Are you sure?" "I intercepted communications. The hegemony wants to eliminate both humans and Valerians because we're becoming too friendly. They've convinced the prince and general that humans are secretly planning to conquer the empire. We need to tell the queen." "I tried, but Prince Daeho blocked my access to her. He says I'm spreading false rumors. And General Wu Jin controls most of the palace security." Yuna's voice was getting more frightened. "They're planning to plant evidence in your room tomorrow night. Then they'll arrest you publicly and use your betrayal to justify a war against Earth." Before Taemin could respond, they heard footsteps in the corridor outside. Yuna's face went pale with terror. "Hide," she whispered, then slipped out through a service door that Taemin hadn't even noticed. The next morning, Taemin tried to act normal, but his mind was racing. He needed proof of the conspiracy, but he was watched constantly. He also needed to warn someone who could help, but who could he trust? The answer came when Dr. Ji-hoon visited him. The royal scientist had been studying human technology and seemed genuinely interested in peaceful cooperation between species. "Doctor," Taemin said carefully, "what would happen if someone wanted to frame me for espionage?" Dr. Ji-hoon looked surprised. "That would be very serious." "Why do you ask?" "Just wondering about security procedures." But the scientist was smarter than that. He studied Taemin's face and saw the worry there. "If you're in danger, there are people who would help you. Captain Yun-hee, for example. She has come to respect you after the mining incident. And Admiral Kyung-ho is an honorable man who serves the Empire, not individuals." That afternoon, Taemin managed to get a message to Captain Yun-hee by bribing a servant with his dinner rations. The message was simple: "Meet me in the royal gardens after dark. Come alone. Lives depend on it." Yun-hee arrived looking suspicious and ready for trouble. "This better be important, human. I'm risking my career by meeting you in secret." Taemin told her everything Yuna had revealed. At first, Yun-hee didn't want to believe it. The idea that a prince and general would betray their own empire seemed impossible. "You're asking me to believe that Prince Daeho is working with our enemies," she said. "I'm asking you to investigate and find the truth," Taemin replied. "If I'm wrong, then arrest me yourself. But if I'm right, then we need to stop them before they start a war that will kill millions." Yun-hee was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. "I'll look into it. But if you're lying to me, I'll personally throw you in the deepest prison cell in the Empire." The next day moved like a bad dream. Taemin went through his normal routine, but everything felt wrong. Guards watched him more closely than usual. Prince Daeho smiled at him during lunch, but his eyes were cold as space. Even the servants seemed nervous. That evening, Lieutenant Yuna's body was found in her quarters. The official report said she had suffered an accident while cleaning her weapon. But Taemin knew better. They had killed her to keep her quiet. As night fell, Taemin waited in his room for the trap to spring. He had hidden a small recording device that Dr. Ji-hoon had given him, hoping to capture evidence of the conspiracy. But he was starting to think he would not live long enough to use it. Just after midnight, his door opened quietly. General Wu Jin entered with 2 guards moving like shadows. They carried a small metal case that probably contained the fake evidence they planned to plant. Search the room, Wu Jin whispered to his men. Make sure the human is asleep. But Tae-min was very much awake. He lay still in his bed, breathing slowly and evenly, while the guards moved around his room. He heard them opening drawers and moving furniture. Then one of them opened the metal case. Plant the transmitter behind the computer panel, Wu Jin said softly, and put the data chips in his personal belongings. Make it look like he's been spying for months. Tae-min's recording device captured every word. Now he had proof, but he was still trapped in a room with 3 armed conspirators. If they discovered he was awake, they would kill him immediately. The guards finished their work and moved toward the door. But General Wu Jin stopped and looked back at Tae-min's still form. Such a small creature to cause so much trouble, he said quietly. Tomorrow the Empire will see that humans cannot be trusted, and then we can deal with them properly. After they left, Tae-min lay in the darkness for another hour, making sure they were really gone. Then he carefully retrieved his recording device and checked that it had worked. The evidence was clear and damning. But now came the hard part. He had to get the evidence to someone who could use it, and he had to do it before morning when they would discover the planted evidence and arrest him. Outside his window, the royal palace slept peacefully, unaware that war and betrayal were moving through its corridors like poison in the blood. Tae-min looked at the stars and thought about his crew, about Earth, about all the innocent people who would die if this conspiracy succeeded. He had saved one alien princess, and that act of kindness had led him into the heart of an empire's darkest secrets. Now he had to save everyone he cared about, including people he had never met. Time was running out and enemies surrounded him on all sides. But Tae-min had faced impossible odds before. Tomorrow would bring the fight of his life. Dawn came too quickly. Tae-min had spent the night planning his escape, but before he could act, palace guards burst into his room. They wore the colors of General Wu Jin's personal unit, and their faces showed no mercy. You are under arrest for espionage against the Valyrian Empire, announced Captain Baksu, one of Wu Jin's most loyal officers. Evidence of your betrayal has been discovered. They dragged Tae-min through the palace corridors as curious courtiers watched. Some looked shocked, others seemed pleased. Prince Daeho stood near the throne room entrance wearing a satisfied smile. The trap had been sprung perfectly. In the throne room, Queen Mira sat on her black stone throne like a statue of judgment. Her ancient eyes showed no emotion as the guards forced Tae-min to his knees before her. General Wu Jin stood beside the throne, holding a small metal device. This communication transmitter was found hidden in the humans' quarters, Wu Jin announced to the assembled court, along with stolen military data about our fleet movements and defensive systems. Murmurs of anger rippled through the crowd. Several courtiers called for immediate execution. Prince Daeho stepped forward, his voice full of fake sadness. Mother, this proves what I have been saying. Humans cannot be trusted. They pretend to be peaceful while planning our destruction. We must act quickly to protect our empire. Queen Mira studied the evidence in silence. Then she looked at Tae-min with those cold, ancient eyes. What do you say to these charges, human? They are lies, Tae-min said clearly. I have never betrayed your trust or your empire. This evidence was planted by the real traitors. Lies, General Wu Jin shouted. The evidence is clear. This creature has been spying for his people since the day he arrived. But before the queen could respond, the throne room doors burst open. Captain Yoon-hee strode in, followed by Admiral Kyung-ho and several loyal guards. She carried a data pad in her hands and determination on her face. Your Majesty, Yoon-hee called out, I have evidence of a conspiracy against the throne. General Wu Jin's face went pale. Captain, you are out of order. Return to your duties immediately. My duty is to the Empire and the truth, Yoon-hee replied. She activated her data pad, and Tae-min's recorded conversation filled the throne room. General Wu Jin's voice echoed clearly as he ordered the planting of fake evidence. The court erupted in shocked voices. Prince Daeho tried to speak, but Admiral Kyung-ho silenced him with a sharp gesture. There is more, Dr. Ji-hoon said as he entered the throne room. I have analyzed the communication device. It was manufactured using hegemony technology, not human. The data chips contained information that could only have come from inside our own military. Queen Mira stood slowly from her throne. When she spoke, her voice carried the cold fury of a winter storm. General Wu Jin, you stand accused of treason against the crown. Prince Daeho, you stand accused of conspiracy with enemy forces. Mother, you don't understand, Prince Daeho said desperately. The humans are dangerous. They will destroy our way of life with their strange ideas about freedom and equality. So you betrayed your own people to stop them? Hana's voice rang out as she entered the throne room. She had been listening from the shadows, and now she stepped into the light. Brother, how could you do this? You have been corrupted by the humans' influence, Deho snarled. Just like Mother, you cannot see the threat they represent. General Wu Jin drew his weapon, but Admiral Kyung-ho was faster. Energy blasts lit up the throne room as loyal and traitorous guards fought each other. Courtiers screamed and ran for cover. In the chaos, Prince Deho tried to reach his mother, a knife in his hand. Tae-min broke free from his guards and tackled the prince. They rolled across the floor, fighting for the weapon. Deho was stronger, but Tae-min had learned dirty fighting in the asteroid mines. He managed to pin the prince's arm and take the knife away. Stop! Tae-min shouted over the noise of battle. This is exactly what the hegemony wants. They want us to destroy each other. His words cut through the chaos. The fighting slowed, then stopped. Everyone looked at the human who was holding a knife to a Valyrian prince's throat but making no move to use it. Don't you see? Tae-min continued, looking around the room. The hegemony played on your fears. They convinced some of you that humans were a threat, while convincing others that Valyrians couldn't be trusted. They wanted us to start a war so they could pick up the pieces. He helped Prince Deho to his feet but kept the knife. Your brother is guilty of treason, but killing him won't solve anything. We need to be better than our enemies. Queen Mira watched this display with amazement. Even in the middle of a battle for his life, the human chose mercy over revenge. General Wu Jin, surrender your weapons. Prince Deho, you will be confined until your trial. Never. Wu Jin raised his weapon toward the queen, but his own soldiers stopped him. They had heard the evidence and seen the truth. Their loyalty was to the empire, not to one corrupt general. As the prisoners were led away, Queen Mira approached Tae-min. The throne room was damaged and chaotic, but her dignity remained perfect. You saved my life, she said. And more importantly, you saved my empire from destroying itself. The debt between us is not just paid, it is reversed. Now I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. I don't want payment, Tae-min said, just as he had said the first day he met her. But I do want freedom. For myself, for my crew, and for your daughter to choose her own future. The queen looked at Hana, who stood watching with hope in her eyes. You wish to refuse the marriage alliance? I do, Mother. Prince Junho is a good man, but I do not love him. And Tae-min has shown me that there are other ways to build alliances besides forced marriages. The hegemony threat remains, Queen Mira pointed out. Then we face it together, Tae-min said. Humans and Valyrians as equals and allies. Not because we're forced to, but because we choose to. Dr. Ji-hoon stepped forward. Your Majesty, my analysis of human technology shows something remarkable. They consistently develop solutions that benefit multiple species, not just themselves. An alliance with such people could make us stronger than any forced marriage. Admiral Kyung-ho nodded in agreement. The humans' methods ended the mining rebellion without a single death. Perhaps it is time we learned from their approach. Queen Mira was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, and it transformed her face from cold marble to warm life. Very well. Tae-min of Earth, you are free to go or stay as you choose. If you choose to stay, it will be as an equal partner, not as a prisoner or debtor. I choose to stay, Tae-min said, but not as a guest in your palace. Let me work with Captain Yoon-hee and Admiral Kyung-ho to build real cooperation between our peoples. And let Princess Hana work with me if she chooses. Hana stepped forward and took Tae-min's hand. I choose to work for a better future, with the man who taught me that individuals can change the course of empires. 3 months later, Tae-min stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Unity. It was built with both human and Valyrian technology, crewed by both species working together. Jinwoo and So-young had been amazed by the alien engineering. While Valyrian engineers marveled at human innovation, Princess Hana worked beside him as they explored the galaxy's edge, investigating reports of hegemony activity. But more importantly, they were showing other species that cooperation was possible, that different peoples could work together without losing what made them unique. Contact on long-range sensors, reported So-young from her station. Unknown ship heavily damaged, Tae-min smiled. Then we go help them. That's what we do. As the Unity changed course toward the unknown ship, Tae-min thought about how much had changed since he rescued one alien princess in an asteroid field. He had learned that the galaxy was full of people who just wanted to live their lives in peace. And sometimes, just sometimes, one person choosing to do the right thing could change everything. The stars stretched endlessly ahead of them, full of wonders and dangers and opportunities. But for the first time since leaving Earth, Taemin felt like he was exactly where he belonged. He was free and he was home.